Welcome to the Prep Phase podcast, brought to you by Predator Gaming. I am Ace Hap, one of the Tier 1 casters for Rainbow Six Siege. I'm joined by my colleague Hap, fellow caster as well. And we also have one of the players from G2. It's going to be Doki joining us today. How are you doing, Doki?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Enjoying the heat in Paris, but sort of ready to get home as well. It's a bit warm, isn't it, Hap?
It is definitely warm. It's getting even warmer tomorrow, 40 degrees. So I'm happy to be going home in that soaring heat, back to a nice 26 in the Netherlands.
Yeah, you won't be seeing much of that in Glasgow, I wouldn't have thought, okay? Is it? Let me guess, mate. Is it muggy? A little bit of cloud?
It's muggy. It's rainy. I'm looking outside just now. It's changing every minute. It's not nice here. It's not nice.
Excellent stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Doki. Obviously, we've done quite a few of these interviews now, and it's been really fascinating insight, I think, for everybody to get an opportunity to just, hear about players, learn a little bit more, maybe things that we didn't know. So, I mean, if you could just start us off with a little bit of an introduction to yourself, maybe, where you stand at the minute and how you got into Siege.
So, for those that don't know, I'm Doki. I'm entry fragger for G2 Esports in the EUL, which is like the tier 1 of Rainbow Six Esports in Europe. How did I start? I started playing in like the lower league division of the national scene in the UK, which is now the NPL. Before it was UKIN. And basically I hopped from a few teams around in there. Finally made it into a team called M&M, where I qualified for Challenger League. And after that, we won the Challenger League, qualified for Pro League. I joined Navi, and then I got transferred recently to G2 around 4 months ago, maybe.
I remember the UK days. Quite a varied. Obviously, coming through Vexed as one of the early teams. I remember at one of the UK Prem lands. You played on Vexed just before you switched across to M&M. I mean, just even more basic than that. Siege itself. What got you into the game? What attracted you to Siege? Was it sort of friends just got you playing it, or what made you pick it up?
Pretty much just friends got me into it. I didn't really play that much competitive FPS before it, but then a few of my friends one night, it came out in like late 2015. The alpha or the beta was released, I think. So I was like 15 at the time. I was very young. I'm 22 now. And they said to me, "Let's try this game." And I tried it, and I swear to God, I didn't stop playing it. Like since I've not played much other games. Since like it's kind of before Siege came out, it was like a different part of my life, and then I just dropped that behind and just went on the Siege wagon, and here we are. So yeah,
I think quite a lot of people in the community have that, where Siege is like it came out when they were like starting to become those teenagers, like 15, 16. It changed their life. I don't think we have to ask you how it changed your life, because you obviously became a pro player and you make a living with it, but. Did you ever expect anything like that when you first played Siege? Was it like love on first sight and you knew that that's what you wanted to go for? Is it like 2-3 years later down the line you decided, you know what, let's just give it a try?
I think when I started playing Siege, there wasn't an esports scene instantly. It was just, you played ranked. That was it. And I remember I was getting very good at it. I was becoming like one of the top players. In like the ranked scene, I guess, at the time. This was like really early on in the game, and eventually I think I just started watching the Pro League broadcasts, and obviously I couldn't do it because I was still young. I had to wait like another 2 years before I turned 18 or whatever. But I don't know, I guess I got hooked on competition and stuff. It wasn't a goal of mine to be a pro player, I would say. I was studying and stuff and working, so it wasn't a goal, I would say, of mine to become this esports pro. I guess it just happened, and I'm glad it did happen, because you're right, it definitely changed my life. So I'm very proud to be where I am just now.
Just a small question about you starting out, actually. It's just struck me as something that I don't actually know the answer to. I've spent a little bit of time with you, Doki, so I know quite a few things. But did you start out on console, or was it straight to PC? Because a lot of our pros started out on console, on Xbox and PlayStation, but was it straight to PC for you?
I'm not a console noob, Ace, no, if that's what you're asking me. If that's what you're asking, no. I've been on PC since I was, let me think. I think 2012 I got my PC. So I've been playing on PC now for 10 years. Probably more, to be honest. I've been playing on my dad's PC and stuff before that. So I did have a console when I was like a young kid, like 7 or 8 or something, but it was only to play like, FIFA and stuff like that. So I wasn't like any competitive gamer or anything. No, so I've been playing Siege PC 100% of the time.
Interesting one. Something that I wanted to ask around the sort of the shift to becoming a pro, the shift to just before coming a pro, really, because obviously a lot of, when you're saying you were playing around the UK scene before you got into M&M, at that point where you're trying to prove yourself, there's a lot of hours, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of dedication that's required to go in there. And, esports is quite a new scene on the whole. And I was just interested to know from yourself, from somebody else from the UK as well, and knowing what a lot of areas around the UK can be like and sort of the attitudes and opinions. It's, more towards sort of pushing towards traditional careers and employment and things like that. How did you find that with your family and friends? And was it sort of supportive, or was it a little bit of a challenge for you?
It was a long time ago, to be honest, but at the time I was working a bit. I was also studying university, and this was through the Challenger League qualifiers, so like not in Challenger League, but like qualifying to get into Challenger League with the M&M team. I remember I asked, I just turned 18, like literally just turned 18, so I was still living at home and all that, ruled by the mother, and I said to them, I want to quit my work and I want to drop out of university because I just want to pursue this, because it's just what I want to do. I'm hooked, I really want to go for it. And I think my dad was like very kind of, no, you can't do that. That's stupid. You need to stay. You're not going to make any money from this. Blah, 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 blah. But I think after we made Challenger League and I got like a pro contract, for example, to actually be paid like a monthly salary to play the game, it was seen as kind of like, okay, this is just a job, pretty much. So my parents were like very, they were fine. Like my mum said, it's do what you want to do. It's it's your life type of thing. And my dad said pretty much the same. But they both were like very, very supportive, which is like really good. And I'm really happy that they are, and they still are. Like they watch all my games right now. My dad's always watching my game. My mum's watching them as well. So it's like really supportive that they're there just now. And that's the same for my friends. They're also very, very supportive right now. At the time, they kind of like, what are you doing with yourself? You're just dropping out of work and all that. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I think overall, I was very lucky. My family are very supportive and stuff, and friends. I know for some people in the pro scene, it's a different story. But for me, pretty lucky. So yeah,
it's funny because I'm by no means a pro, right? But when I used to play Benelux, no, I know, don't worry.
No.
But when I used to play,
he's got
Benelux,
7 or 8 Benelux trophies like everybody else. Doki,
don't even
worry.
have them. Not even that. But it's like when I was playing a lot of Siege. My parents as well were like, "Oh, you really need to be focusing on your school. You cannot just drop out. You're gaming way too much." Then I qualified for a LAN tournament. Didn't win anything, but that's fine. But at that moment, they were like, "Okay, I mean, he is going have some nice experiences. It might be okay to just let him do what he does." And I mean, it's my job now, but in a different matter. I'm talking about the game because I'm nowhere nearly as gifted and as skilled as many of the other players are. It's funny how that changes. A question though, when you started to get into professional play, into competitive play, was there any players you idolized or you looked up to?
Yes, actually, it's not like your usual. It's not your usual Pengus or whatever for me. I think the one player I really looked up to was Eunice from the old Gifu roster, who went on to Penta. I don't know. We were just really good friends at the time. We played a lot together on like ranked and stuff, just both of us, and he was always like a really nice guy to me, especially when we went to these like dream hacks and LAN events. He would always kind of talk to me and take me to a few Finnish parties or whatever that they had. But yeah, I really liked talking to him, and I wish he was still in the scene right now because he's long gone. But I would say Eunice because he was like the best player at the time, like by far. He was like insane at the game. He was so good, and I think he just was, in my eyes, like who I wanted to be. So that's who I idolized. and now I just idolize myself. So,
a true G2 player there. Speaking, you mentioned the Finnish parties. Have you also gone to a Finnish sauna? I know that's a giant culture there.
I have, yeah. Actually, I have a picture of Kantaraketti from Rogue. He's in the sauna in Sweden, like a big Finnish party, but we were in Sweden for the DreamHack, and he's sitting in the sauna in his full G2 kit, like fully roasting, hoodie on, and all that, and he's sitting there just kind of looking at it. It's a funny picture. So yes, I have been to a Finnish sauna.
Very nice.
I think Siege has got a lot to thank Finland for, to be fair. When you really look at it, I think back to like the old, you mentioned Eunice there, you think back to like the old ENCE roster, there's an awful lot.
Well,
yeah, absolutely. There's an awful lot came out of the sort of Finnish scene, really, and they've always had good player numbers amongst the pros and everything else. So, that leads us up to obviously joining M&M, Doki. I remember the first LAN that you did. It was an epic LAN down in Kidderminster, if I'm right. You were...
Yes, it was.
And I tell you what, I was impressed with M&M as an org at that point, because they had, obviously, for anybody, most people watching probably aren't going to know what that is, but it was just a local LAN. It was literally a bring your own computer style thing. But there was a proper Siege tournament running with a bit of prize money. I was fortunate enough, it was one of my first in-person casting gigs that I did. It was quite a good footing for a lot of people, really. But M&M turned up. I remember Gig was the coach at the time, and just everything about it was professional. It was like literally they turned up, they were taking photographs, putting Twitter posts out, like really on top of it. And that mentality just seemed to really stick from there. Do you think it was a great foundation?
For the organisation, you mean?
For you as players, for the organisation, it's just something that really seemed to carry forward.
Yeah, I think back then, like you said, it was a bring your own computer. And M&M was an organisation who did bring a computers for us. So that was obviously that makes our lives easier. I didn't really want to bring my own computer; it's just too much hassle. So from they are or were a lower tier organization at the time, and for them to do that and the stuff you say, photographs, all this professionalism, it's that does show a lot of commitment to the scene and stuff. And I think that has stuck. With players, I think I have quite a big social media presence and stuff. Maybe not so much professional, but I do have a social media presence. I guess I'm always putting pictures up and stuff, so it's that's stuck. And for the organisation, the thing is, M&M qualified for the Berlin Major very recently. And I seen that they posted a graphic. I don't know if you've seen it. They've qualified, and it was a really nice kind of Berlin skylight with with the whole team drawings above it. And they've always been doing this stuff. I remember when we were in the team, they did the poster with me, Citizen Saves, Kendrew, and Nello. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I do remember
we all had the Mira card. I was holding this. I remember that, and they've always been that kind of organisation who do that. So I think they are definitely a foundation of the UK scene, and it has stuck. You're right. So it's good to see the type of stuff like that.
I know, obviously, nationals have been something that you've been quite heavily involved with as well. Happen, the Benelux region. Yeah. How do you think? And I'll sort of forward this question on to Doki after yourself as well. How important do you think those sort of regional competitions are for players to get established and to get that experience?
I mean, for some players, it's going to be their first taste of competitive, right? It's like a Ubisoft organized tournament. You have teams from Pro League teams into the mix as well at some point, and you get to have that first competition. I think it's incredibly important because a lot of these players and potentially teams get the opportunity to get themselves recognized by other teams. If it's just ranked, for example, and tryouts,
not everybody can be Spike.
A lot of people will be going overlooked. Not everybody can be the number one champion indeed. But when you have these competitions like Benelux, GSA, NPL, or back then UKIN, and of course the Nordic leagues, there is so much regional talent that shows up and gets recognized and gets a shot at potentially making it to one of those Pro League teams. I think it's incredibly important.
How did you find that, Doki? The process for yourself as a player. You've played on both sides of it, so you've, we've mentioned Vex, we've mentioned M&M. You've been through that process of being in there with newer teams and newer rosters. Many of which the players have ended up in Pro League, players like Citizen along with you. But you've done it from the other side as well. You've played in the national leagues with a pro team when you've been on Na'Vi as well. How have you found that experience?
I think the first The first experience I had in the National Leagues is a bit different to what Hap was talking about, because I didn't get like scouted for a Pro League team or anything like that. We grinded the whole National League into Challenger League into Pro League type of thing, you know, like as one unit, as like one team. But I have seen like many players, like back in Navi, for example, we took Blur from watching him play in National Leagues. We took Nathan from watching him play in National Leagues. We took who else? Joe.
Yeah.
We used to have Joe in the team. Like all of these players came from National Leagues, playing against us in the National League, so we could get a really good sense of like what type of player they had to play against. So it was like really important to play in these leagues. I know some players are saying that they don't want to play in these leagues because they don't see it like worth it, whatever. And I think that's absolutely nonsense, because the amount of like viewership that you get as an individual player for playing in these leagues, be it small or large, no matter how big it is, that it's still a lot of traction on your kind of your brand, your image, and all that. And it's really important because, like Hap said, you know, you can't just pick a player up off of ranked clips or tryouts and stuff like that. It's inappropriate. So actually seeing them perform in a like stressed competitive environment is really important for like pro teams wanting to pick up a lower tier player. And I think right now, like the teams in Europe that are going to make roster changes, the best decision they can possibly make is take an unexperienced player from like a lower league, like you can, because I think a problem that Europe has in a whole right now is there's a bit too much experience on teams and not too much like fresh blood. When you compare it to like other regions like Brazil and stuff, like you have teams W7M running around, like you never heard any of these guys before.
I mean, look at Fantasy coming into Furia as well. He was exactly
Fantasy. In Europe, Spoit and Benjamaster, you know, like these players have all came from unexperienced low teams, and that I think is what we're going to see the trend continue.
Well, you look at Skiddy as well. You know, if we look at EUL, Skiddy's exactly the same position, has come from a National League, hasn't had the Challenger League, the Tier 2 experience, has just gone straight in, and has done fantastically well. And, you know, obviously, there's players like Deepak as well, somebody that you know well, coming through to Rogue.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's incredibly important. Like, you cannot just try and go for open qualifiers, and then, well, of course you can. But there's only 1 or 2 teams that will be able to do that. So there's 10 players that can go through open qualifiers and make it to Challenger League, potentially towards the European League after that. There's a lot more spots if you look at all the nationals and try and make your way through there. So you can really develop yourself as a player. You get the opportunity to play against more experienced players, and you get the viewership, as Doki said. It's just like incredibly important.
That's an interesting point that you touch on there, Hap, as well, playing against the experienced players, the experienced teams. It was something that I've said a couple of times along the way, and it's interesting to have the opportunity to ask you, Doki, because you were basically in the position of doing it. But I'm thinking back to original UK Prem days, you know, the UK Premiership, when we had Team Secret join to begin with, and it was like a big thing. It was like, you know, should Team Secret be allowed to play in this league or not? You know, do you think that was, again, you know, like a shaping experience for you, that playing against those better teams helped you raise your game?
Nah, absolutely. I understand that people don't want to play against pro teams in a non-pro tournament. I understand that argument because it's annoying to lose to these pro teams. But if that's the only way you're looking at it, then I think you're looking at it totally wrong. Because if I was a Tier 3, Tier 2 player, and I had the opportunity to play against the best teams in Europe, I would take that like any day of the week, you know, because it's that experience is just really good. And again, you can prove yourself way more against a pro team than you can against another lower division team. And I had no problem playing against the higher tier teams when I was a lower tier player. And when I was in Navi playing in UCAN, I also thought it was enjoyable for me as like a player. It was good experience. It was good. It was good to play more officials outside of EUL and stuff. So I have no problem with that. I really enjoyed it.
Obviously, you know, we've mentioned Navi a little bit. You spent quite a bit of time there with them recently, having moved, as you say, about 4 months ago, moving over to G2, which has been, I think it's fair to say, a high-profile move. You know, you were already a big name at that point in terms of your performances at Navi, and you know what we've seen you deliver for that team. Moving over to G2, did that sort of carry any pressure with it? You know, going back in with, you know, big names like, you know, Citizen, Alamai, Virtue, Prano, you know, a lot of big names there. How did you feel about that switch?
I didn't feel nervous like playing with other big name players, not at all. To me, they're all my friends. You know, I know these guys well, especially Ben Citizen. But I do think the thing I was worried about was like making that new bond with the team, because I've been in Navi for so long, I didn't have to do it. You know, we replaced a player every now and then. That was just one player you had to get in the mix. But when G2, it was like 5 new players who hadn't played together really, apart from Jake and Virtue and Citizen. Sorry, I'm on first name basis. I'm
you know, cool big like players. That. It's not, you know, it's not a big deal, Doki. It's not a big deal.
But yeah, I was really worried about the bond. Like if maybe these guys weren't as, you know, friendly, whatever. It's my previous experience in Navi, and I think that was the case for a little while. It was hard to get used to it, but right now, like I'm loving it. A really good connection right now. So,
do you think the early boot camp that G2's given you helped with that early bonding? Probably the answer is going to be yes, but it's like often teams make these changes, and I don't really see anything on like socials about them going to a boot camp right after the changes come through. But I think that's an incredible important thing, because you'll be spending most of your days for the next couple of months together. So it's better to just bond from the get-go, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly. When G2 provided the bootcamp for us, I thought it was really good, because not only could we practice with each other and just knock out all of our issues right away and just, you know, get straight to work, but like after practice finished, you know, we went out for dinner every night together. We went to the bars together, like all this stuff, you know, like we just hung out together, like the 6 of us, the 7 of us, whatever, how many there are. Then one gets added every day, it seems, in G2, just a new member get thrown in the mix. But it's good just to mix and just get to know your team, not only the players, but your coach, your manager, you know, like all this stuff. I remember Carlos, the CEO of G2, when we arrived, he took us all out for a big dinner and just basically gave us the rundown of like the team and like how it works and all that. And I found that very, very, you know, professional and also like kind of family like. It was really good to kind of see. So yeah.
I mean, you mentioned there a little bit as well, Doki, and it's a point that I'm interested in. So you were on Navi and obviously saw a few roster changes, but you were the established player there. People were coming in and sort of having to fit in with you to a degree and get used to how the team does things. How different has the process been the other way now that you've done it and you know you've had to be the new face coming into a team?
Obviously, it's a bit different, but at the same time, I don't think that necessarily is the case. I think all the players that joined G2, they chose the players for a reason, because they do fit. Like, for example, me and Citizen, I know him very well. Like, we play together very, very well. And I think the whole team accepted everyone when they joined the team and built the team around them instead of trying to fit people in like with other people's playstyles. And I think that probably was a reason why we kind of underperformed a little bit towards the start. And even the start of stage 2, while we were playing bad, was because we hadn't found our playstyle yet or how we're going to fit. But right now, I think like we have everyone in the right role and right position and stuff, and it really has just clicked. Like overnight, one day, it really did just click, and I don't see that failing anytime soon. And especially if we keep the work up that we're doing right now.
You and Citizen have played together for a long time, as you say. You know, right through M&M Navi. What were the feelings for you of being able to team back up with Ben? Was it something that you'd wanted to do for a long time? Was it, you know, you'd been sort of just waiting for the opportunity?
Yeah, I think so. Because when he left, it was like I wasn't in the team at the time. I was unable to play. But when he left Navi, I remember it was kind of like damn, this is like really bad. You know, like I was looking forward to playing again with him, etc., etc. And I wasn't able to do that for another 2 years because he was in G2. So the fact that I got another chance to do it right now is like really good, because I've always thought we played really well together. Like I always thought we dominated like games together when we played. So I wouldn't say I was like aiming to do it. I think if I stayed in Navi, we would have tried probably to maybe get him as well. I don't know. But right now in G2, like I'm happy that we're back together. The duo's back. So.
The Geo's back, but started the first stage, was a bit rocky. Started second stage, a bit rocky. You made it to Charlotte though, so you made it to a major right away. Was it the eventual goal? Was that like always the aim? Like, we know we are going to be top 4 this first stage, or was it let's just see how we roll into the year? If we miss that first one, that's not a big deal as long as we're there for the second and third.
I mean, we said like we should make the major. Like realistically, we should just make the major. Like we should be able to like outplay majority of teams to get the top four. But as a goal, when we formed the G2 team, we said, guys, the goal is to go to the SI. That's it. Like our goal is SI at the end of the year, and then once we get to the SI, we'll work on winning it or like work on playing it well, you know. But the goal is to get to the SI. The majors are a bonus. Like obviously you need the majors to get to SI, but you know the majors are a bonus along the way. They weren't an individual goal. It was SI, and that's still the goal today. Like I'm happy I made the Berlin major. Very happy, obviously, but SI is the goal.
Just very briefly coming back to Citizen as well, something else I wanted to ask. I saw a couple of tweets from Citizen, and he's had a bit of a joke that he was going to unleash you in the last game, and he's tweeted about that. What's the relationship like between you in game? How do you genuinely have that opportunity to work closely together? Because obviously Citizen's doing his lurking flex thing, and you're on the entry. How much interaction do you realistically have in the game? How much can you impact on each other's performances?
I think it is a lot because it's completely map dependent and situation dependent, but Citizen is now the kind of IGL of our team, so he's always telling me where to go, what to do, and I'm just listening. We're always at each other's necks or at each other's throats because me and Citizen are two very. I think we're quite similar when it comes to personality. We're quite stubborn, the both of us. We want to have our say. So we're always arguing and butting heads, but it's a good thing because it answers a lot of questions, and like we always get the best solution out of every problem because we have multiple people getting involved in it. So we do play together in game like a lot because especially in defense, like we're playing a similar role. We're just running around together, pretty much just be the lunatics. So we are pretty close.
We've mentioned the Charlotte Major. You didn't perform terribly. You got out of the group, second place to BDS, and then lost to Liquid ultimately. But I think it's fair to say anybody can lose to Team Liquid on the day in a best of 3 knockout. It's just how it goes. Was it a little bit of a surprise maybe coming into stage 2 and the poor start that you've had there? Was that a bit of a shock to the team? Were you maybe expecting a little more on the back of the LAN, or was it actually not too much of a surprise for you guys?
The thing is, at Charlotte, we had a lot of problems, internal problems, and I really, really thought, like, I'm just going to be honest about it, I really thought after Charlotte, like, the team would kind of, like, explode type of thing, because individuals weren't clicking. We had a lot of problems with, like, people not working well with other people, and it was, like, really, really bad. And I think G2 were worried as well because no one wants to see this in a new team and stuff. And so we had a boot camp after Charlotte to prepare for stage 2. We fixed a lot of our problems partially, and things were looking good. Like things were looking pretty good. But I think after stage 2 started, the issues started kind of creeping back a little bit, and that's when we decided to make some drastic changes to the way we play. Like we put Citizen on the IGL role, for example, halfway through the stage because things just really weren't working. We changed we changed Virtue to our like vertical player because we didn't have that before. We put Alamal on the role that he's comfortable on. We put Prano in more of a kind of luck role, which is just empowering him a bit more. I kind of stayed the same, but we kind of swapped the roles about and put people where we thought they need to be. I don't know why we didn't do that before. I think it's because when the team formed, we got players to play roles maybe that they weren't the best at, and now we've kind of found that groove where everyone is just enjoying their role, playing their role like to the top, and it really has clicked, like I said. So Charlotte was a complete wake-up call, I think, and that is why our performance was bad at the beginning of this stage. And I really am proud the guys were able to turn it around because I think that is quite impressive,
Who took the lead in getting these issues sorted? Was it a team effort, or was it one person that truly stepped up and realized, hey guys, we need to be working at these things because otherwise it's going to go down south real quick? Is it Shas? Is it one of the players in G2 itself, or is it everybody coming to the conclusion at the same time? Just wondering what the exact process was.
We got a new manager in called Luca. He's our new manager. He's fully focused on the Rainbow Six team, and he's been really helpful. He's kind of like another coach. He's always watching scrims and having his involvement, telling people to calm down or whatever, So I'd say he's probably a big part of it. He's definitely helped. But I would say as a bit of everybody, Shaz as well, like just contributing their thoughts and stuff. But I do think the main people to turn this season around is the players. Like, I really do believe that the reason we turned it around is because we wanted to. We didn't just give up. I do think that Citizen took a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. He put the whole weight of the team on his shoulders, and he's walked. He's led with it, and it's working really well right now. So I do always want to praise him. I think it's important to praise your teammates when they do something great. And I think Alamau as well. He's became more of a shot caller leader in the team, which is just when we're at a slump, you need people to step up, and that's exactly what they did. So just a whole team effort, really.
I think looking towards that improvement as well, we've seen it over the last couple of weeks. It's been obvious for us to see, and it's been good to see. As we always say, as I said, I think I said it after week 3 or 4. We don't like. I personally, as a caster, I don't like to see a team struggling. I don't want to see a team, throwing everything at something and not getting the results. It's I'd much rather see everybody just playing well and looking to beat each other. The mentality, I'm sure, has been more and more positive as the stage has gone on. It's one of the best stories we've had in EUL, I think, ever. What was the belief like in actually making the Berlin Major? Because I believe at a point, G2 had a 4% chance statistically of making it based on all results, everything else. What was the belief like as the weeks have gone on?
I said last night before the game, we do a thing in G2, like before every official game, one player different every week needs to kind of give a motivational speech, whatever. And I said last night, guys, I'm so proud of all of you, blah, 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 blah. I'm really proud. I don't really care if we win tonight. Let's just go and have some fun. That's what I said, because in my eyes, making the major is great, right? You win, you make the major. You lose, you get to focus more on the team and prepare for the next stage. So I'm balancing both, in my head. But during the stage, when we started crawling back, winning game after game after game, we were kind of like, there's no way, right? There's no way we actually going to make the major.
To be fair, we were saying the same.
We were saying as well. It's like, G2 story's
surely
over.
Not.
And I remember every play day, Alamau was kind of like, guys, we can make the major if we do this. And the rest of us were just like, shut up. Shut up. So it's a bit fun in games, but we're happy to be here. We literally just took a game at a time. Like yesterday when we played Heroic, when we were, if we won the game and would have qualified for the major, like we were just looking to win the game. If the results that came after it were whatever, major or not, we were just looking to win the game. So, and that's the mentality that went into it. I tweeted yesterday saying, playing Heroic tonight, absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain. So bring it on. And I think that pressure really got to them. Really, really got to them. Because they obviously had to win the game. They had to win that match. So
anything would have done for Heroic. Literally at one point, if they'd have got to overtime, it was literally anything for them.
Well, they had to do well. Yeah, they had to do well in the game. So. And that is pressure on it. You don't want to be in that situation. So,
yeah, for sure. Closing that last one out, that last point is often what we
the hardest one.
I mean, we saw with Eminem as well. They struggled on that last play, the last 2 play days to even get 6 rounds together. But you qualified for Berlin now, and you've just had Charlotte. What are the key learnings that you'll be taking from the Charlotte Major over to Berlin to outperform your current quarters appearance? I
think. Make sure the issues at Charlotte don't creep back, and we just stick as a unit. We really want to be a unit. Every aspect of what the word team means, we want to show, just be there for each other, and we really do want to have fun playing. Like we want to enjoy it, because I think that is when you play the best Siege, is when you're motivated and enjoying the game that you're playing. It's not just, you got to win this game, or you're going to lose if you're going to get knocked out of the tournament if you lose this game. I don't think we're too bothered about that. I think we're just going to play each game. We have a strong group, a fun group as well. It's going to have some nice rivalries in it with the Brazilians and the Super. So I'm just looking forward to it, man. Honestly, it's going to be fun, and just going to, again, take it game by game. So, yep.
I mean, in a way, it must feel like a little bit of a bonus. You probably, like you said, you've got to a point in the stage where you think, nah, we're not going to the major. We're not going to make this one. Yeah. You then, and I want to really stress this, you guys should be really proud of the accomplishment of what you've done, because it is, and I said it last night on the broadcast, and I'll say it again until the day I'm done. It is one of the biggest turnarounds that we've seen inside of Siege. We've seen big individual game turnarounds. We all remember the SI finals that we've seen along the way where, they've been won over. We all remember Team 1 overcoming Cyclops in Mexico. All those sorts of things. But this is right up there with them. The turnaround is huge, and it must give you a real big boost going into Berlin. Like, it's almost a bit of a freebie, a bit of a bonus.
What armor?
Yeah, whatever happens here. But looking at your group specifically, you've mentioned there a couple of rivalries. You've got FaZe, Sonics and Sandbox in there with you. That's going to be Group B. Realistically, how are you feeling about it? I mean, there's some big challenges in there. Yeah,
I think every team in there is very good. Even Sandbox, I think they're probably underestimated a little bit because of their previous performances at SI and stuff. But there's no easy game in that group. I'm excited to play Sonics and FaZe. They're two of the best teams in their region right now, and especially in Sonic Super announcing his retirement, like, he'll be giving it all this tournament, so like it's not going to be any easy foe. I think Alamar is excited to play FaZe. He thinks FaZe are the best team in the world right now, and he says if you beat FaZe, you win the major. Pretty sure he said that at Charlotte about Liquid as well. So
I'm pretty sure every time I speak to Alamar, he says similar things about Brazilian teams.
My God, he's always like, guys, if we beat these guys, we win the major. I'm like, yeah, right. No worries. Keep it easy. But I think we can get out of groups in that group. I really do. If we keep up the process we're doing right now, we'll just keep improving. And honestly, we said it last night in the group chat. We don't usually say like, oh, we think we can win the major or whatever. We think we can do that. But if we keep if we keep the work we're doing right now, we can win the major. There's no question about it, because I just don't see I just don't see a team being able to beat us if we keep what we're doing. And that is a big ask to keep the process up. But I'm just saying, like, that's how confident I am in the process we have right now, and the theory and stuff we're doing, is that I just don't see a situation where we could be bested, like, before the game begins, if you know what I mean. Like, when you're looking at a group and you're like, oh, FaZe, they're just better than us. Like, that's just going to be a really tough game. I don't ever see that situation happen. If we play the game and the best is inside of it, fair enough. But there's no team in that group that I'm worried about at all right now. I'm just really looking forward to play at our home ground in Berlin, right next to the office.
Well, that's it. It's worth mentioning. Obviously, all the players have spent a bit of time there. Do you think it adds to the comfort level? You're just going to, obviously there's a lot of teams that are going to have to travel from around the world. We saw Heroic's travel problems last time and how it affected them in Charlotte, and other teams are going to have to go through that. They've got long journeys. They've got to get settled in Berlin. Do you think there's maybe only a small one, but maybe a little bit of an advantage in you just being comfortable straight away?
I mean, first of all, Virtue and Alamal won't need to stay at a hotel because their apartment is 20 metres away. Yeah. So they can stay in their big apartment. I might even stay there as well. I don't know. We have access to boot camp whilst we're at the major throughout the day. If we want it, we can just go. It's right there. And the most important thing, Ace, is I know where all the good food places and bars
That's
are.
The key.
So
I
don't need to look.
You have the mental advantage over NA there, because they always struggle in Europe.
It's always about the food, right? So we know that LAC's single, but it's always about the food.
You know exactly where to go. You can bribe them as well at that point. Like,
let me tell you, if you guys end up going, I don't know what's going on, but right next to where the major venue is, there is like a Vietnamese food restaurant right on the river. My God, it's very good. You need to go there and wait for it right across the road. vegan donuts. Very good, very, very good. They're brilliant. So
I'll keep them both in mind. But it's an interesting point, because obviously we do see it every time for tournaments, depending where we are in the world. Different teams have different journeys, they have different experiences, and sometimes it does impact them in terms of whether it's time zone. We've all joked about M&M and the 10 a.m. games at SI, and but these things do have impacts on teams, and it is a fast. Honestly, I'll lay it out. I would absolutely love to see you guys win the major. Just the story of coming back from the start that you've had. I'd love to see you back on top. I supported NA at SI, so I won't have any claims of bias. Thank you very much. I love to see. I don't. NA's had its time now. The jokes have been about EU, and I'll say the same thing I said about NA at SI. I said we've had enough jokes about NA now. I'd like to see them win so we can put that to bed. And the same for EU. We've heard about it now. Okay, EU feel like they've been a little bit behind. Let's have a win now, and let's flip it on its head again. And so, I'd absolutely love to see it. But looking around the rest of the groups, we've got the other groups as well now. Who... are there any teams in particular that you're looking at that you've got one eye on, thinking maybe it'd be better to avoid them until the final? I know that you'll say that you've got to beat everybody, and I know that you'll be confident that you can beat everybody. But, who do you think are the strong teams?
Yeah, probably FaZe, to be honest. But I think we're going to play them first game, so... oh well. But I'd say FaZe are looking really good right now. I also think, when you mentioned Europe, I think Europe's teams that have arrived for the major have one of the best chances of winning it that we have had for a while, BDS not being there is a bit of a shock, but I think Wolves are playing really good right now. I wouldn't want to play them. I really hate playing them. So yeah, I'd say FaZe, Wolves. Just trying to think some of the any teams. I'm not even.
Astralis, Sonics.
Okay, yeah, Astralis as well. I think they're
Exit.
looking really good. Yeah. Exit and Oxygen. Yeah, they're also kind of teams that are just so spontaneous. You're just difficult to judge. You know what I mean on game day. So
how do you feel about Damwon Kia, Doki? I've been touting Damwon Kia for a little while, and I'm
2 years now.
I've been backing him, and I think that we were going to see a good performance out of them this major, if I'm honest.
If they bring their own food,
they've played well in stage 2, and I feel like they're coming in looking good.
Well, they were in our group at SI when I was in Navi, and I was a bit wary playing them because they were just destroying everybody else in our group, just walking through them. I remember we played them and we won one map 7-3, I think, and then lost the second map 8-6 or something. So, I think individually I'm quite good at playing them. I don't know, I played really well in that game, I remember. So I actually like to get a rematch against them. I really like the guys in that team. They're funny.
Yeah.
So I'd like to play them. And you know what? For the sake of APAC, I do hope they do well, because I think they are one of the top contenders, if only contender from APAC that can compete in the global stage. That might be a bit rude. I think other teams like CAG and stuff are very good, but their play style is a bit too spontaneous to consistently work. I think Damwon have a good lock on it. So. I think they'll do well. I agree with you in that one.
What are your thoughts about APAC, Cap? Obviously,
I'm excited to see Nagiri on LAN again.
Yeah.
Managed to equalize the kill record with, was it 8 different guns or something like that? Playing with the MK14, shredding through everybody there.
Sandbox can't be written off either. We've seen them have a couple of roster changes and a real improvement in stage 2.
Yeah, no, definitely so. And I mean, we keep on saying this about APAC. Of course, we have a small bias because we cast them as well. It's one of the two regions we do. But I mean, Damwon Kia before, they were 1 round away from making it to the grand final in Sweden. That would have been the best ever result that APAC would have been able to put on the board. Had a bit of a slip up, let's say, for the Charlotte qualification with the playoffs there. So I'm glad that we see them again. I really hope they do well. And maybe make it to a final. It would be great to have an APAC team in the finals. I think it's important as well for the region.
You mentioned that Damwon Kia FaZe game. I've been asked quite a few times recently. We get asked occasionally, what's the best game you've ever cast? I've been asked quite a lot recently, and I genuinely think that probably is it. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 that I always list, but
when people say what's the best game you didn't cast, that's the game I give. That's the game I really wanted to do.
Unbelievable. That 1v1 at the end, And I knew that Souls was going to win it because that's what he does. He clutches up. That's what Souls does. But yeah, absolutely unbelievable. But I think that's about going to wrap it up for us, Doki. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us today. It's been an absolutely fascinating discussion with you. A great insight into pro play, the path that you've taken to get there, and maybe the trials and tribulations along the way, but also the sort of rising positivity and success of the current roster with G2, and the story continues as it is at the minute, and hopefully we're going to see it continue long into the Berlin Major, which is going to be the next tournament up for you. So thank you very much for joining us, Hap, as well. That's going to wrap it up for us on the Prep Phase podcast, brought to you by Predator Gaming, and we will see you next time.